Okay, we've got quite a few. And it seems like we have a lot of practitioners here, is that correct? Of some sort, medical-based? Okay, so a little bit of a mixed bag. And finally, has anybody here heard of or been involved in peer advisory groups or any type of group like that in the past? You know what those are? Okay, so we've got some people that know that too. Very good. So what we're going to discuss today is basically the peer advisory groups, or how to create your own tribe, if you will, in case you don't have that or some place to go with your issues that are peer-based. And so Michelle's going to take us down that path very briefly. And by the way, I want to acknowledge we are very late in the day, and I know that you guys have a dinner to go to, and you've got a beautiful resort here to take advantage of. So we're going to keep it very brief. So I'll hand it off to Michelle to go a little bit deeper. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Larry. So the peer advisory boards that Larry and I run are more of a formal type of setting. They're with a group called Vistage. There's 22,000 members around the world, so it's a pretty big organization, about 600 or 700 here just in Orange County. He and I each have a couple of CEO groups that meet for a full day every month. If you can imagine actually getting a business owner to sit at a table from 8 in the morning till 5 in the evening in a meeting, you can imagine the ROI must be pretty incredible. That's because those people feel that it's kind of the lonely at the top syndrome, right? No place to actually be able to share openly, no place to go where someone doesn't have a stake in the outcome of that conversation other than what's best for them. So that's what they get in a meeting, on top of confidentiality, the ability to sort of get advice and feedback from a team that really cares about them. So we meet with 12 to 16 in each group each month, as well as individual coaching. There's groups here in Orange County and, like I said, around the world. But on a more informal basis, there's also a way to put that together for yourself. About 10 years ago, I went from being a stay-at-home mom to figuring out what's next. My kids were going to grow up and move out. I was going to be the crazy lady holding onto the bumper, come back, if I didn't kind of figure out what was next. So I put together an informal group, and we met weekly in the beginning. We held each other accountable. We challenged each other. We cared for each other when it wasn't going so well. And through that process, I became a Vistage chair, an executive coach, or runner of CEO, peer advisory boards. Other friend became a doctor. She's a psychotherapist now here in Orange County, and the other person became a physical therapist. So it was a great process. So I encourage you with your practice, with your business, either to find an informal way or a formal way to become a part of something that's so transformative, really. It can make a huge difference. Anybody here facing a business challenge that they would want to share for a moment? Something that they've kind of been hitting up against with employees, with staff, with a new product, anything of that sort? Was that you? Were you waving your hand? Yeah. We have a volunteer in the... No, I'm kidding. You're good at that. Anybody care to play for a minute?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. What do you got?
I just started a new functional integrative medicine practice.
Well, that's exciting. What's your biggest challenge? Just pick one.
Finding patients and afford to access the care that they need and identify that they actually need.
That is a fabulous challenge to have, right? So finding patients that can relate to what you're offering and can also afford your services is, of course, a big challenge in opening a new practice. So the big secret with these types of groups and with working together as a team is to have other people that can ask really good questions, right? To open up new ways of thinking. Other people in this room have been down this path, right? Other people in this room have kind of been where she is probably, or in similar situations. Anybody have a question? What's your name, by the way?
Phyllis.
Phyllis. Anybody have a question for Phyllis? Yes.
Well, when I started, I thought my ideal patient was someone who had gut issues and or had already been diagnosed with autoimmunity. But that's kind of expanded beyond that. But yeah, that's kind of
Okay, so your target was people that maybe had issues with autoimmunity, that type of thing, but now you've kind of realized there might even be a bigger, broader audience for you. Yeah, way bigger, which is exciting. Have another question for her? Yes?
What are your personal interests or hobbies that you mix with the community and bring
But in theory, I like reading, I enjoy music, and I did actually join a networking group recently. One of my chiropractic friends actually had been inviting me for the last 2 years. I didn't have time, so I made a commitment to try to connect with other entrepreneurs. You know.
Thank you. So opening up some avenues, different ways to meet people, those kind of things. Anything you want to add, Larry, about this or the issue processing?
Thank you. Do you have you set out goals as to where you want to be in a year or a year and a half, 2 years, something like that? And also, who do you go to talk about these things right now? Who is your tribe? Who are you pointing to over there? Husband? Oh, okay. So besides people that are on your payroll, so to speak, who else do you go to?
Well, and my staff. I don't really have it.
Okay, and that's kind of what we're talking about, because everybody has their spouse, their employees, their CPAs, and their attorneys, but they're all, what I like to say, is on the payroll, or it's a situation when you're building a business. Some of the things that you need to talk about are kind of the scary things that are kind of hiding under the bed. What if I fail? What if I'm growing so fast and I can't afford the growth? And the people that we're talking about here that's in your close circle, they really don't have the answers, and it gets a little bit scary for them. So that's basically what we're talking about, is building a tribe to help you with that. So maybe it's a group of people who do what you do, or who are in similar adjacent industries, practices, whatever the appropriate thing is, and that's what Michelle and I do, is build groups like that. And one of the stories I have, and thank you for coming forward with that, if you will. I think we're getting close on time, so we'll move along here. But one of the stories I have is one of my CEO members recently. One of the big issues in today's business is growth, because we've been in a very strong economy for a number of years, and most of my company clients are growing very rapidly, and some of them, the growth is outstripping their own ability, because they grew the company from nothing. They're technicians, they grew up to a certain point, and they came to the group and said, I'm running out of capacity, which is kind of a good thing to have in a sense, in that you run out of the capacity to make money. He says, so what do I do? So he says, I'm thinking about hiring a general manager. So he brings it to the group, and there's 15 people in the room that have gone through similar things like this, and so they counsel him from their experience on how to figure out whether to hire a general manager, whether to hire an operations manager, where to look, what type of people, what kinds of questions to ask, what resources to look at. And so what it did for him is it helped him to get the answers faster, more accurate, without making big, expensive mistakes, because if any of you have hired employees, if you make a bad hire, it's extremely expensive these days, and the pool is very, very tight, so making a bad hire can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. So they kind of held his hand down this path, hired a general manager using some outside sources of recruiters, because this guy had never hired anybody at that level before. And now 6 months later, he has a general manager on board. He has found so many efficiencies that it's increased his capacity without building a bigger building or bringing on any more people, by putting processes in place that he never had. And he increased, because of all of the slop in his business, sloppiness, if you will, he's increased the bottom line more than enough to pay for himself. So without the group, he may have gone down this very, circuitous path to get there, but instead it was kind of a straight line. He did it in a relatively good time. 6 months is not bad to hire a very high-level person, and it just saved him a ton of headaches, and he felt comfortable going through it because he had all these people had his back. So that gives you an idea of what a peer group can do for you, and maybe to answer some of your questions, Phyllis, if you maybe build yourself a small tribe or a peer group like that, they can kind of help you. Okay, where do I go to look for the patients? Is the networking group the right place to go, or are there other places where you can go? So that's my 2 cents worth. So Michelle, you want to kind of bring us home?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your attention. I really do appreciate it. You're lovely at 5:30, whatever time this is. I just want to close in saying that Larry and I will be around for a few minutes after. We have, cards if you want to be in touch. We have information about building your own groups, information about the groups that we have. We're huge believers in the power of this, because we've seen what it can do. People that join our group stay an average of 5 years, which is a pretty long commitment in today's day and age. But it kind of tells you something about what can happen and what's available. So feel free to be in touch. Feel free to reach out. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your time here. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you. The other benefit, actually, of Vistage is that in the afternoons, during the day is when they have these get-togethers to answer each other's questions and solve each other's problems. In the afternoons, they have speakers, and those speakers are there talking about technologies and concepts and new ideas and marketing that can help you grow and make better decisions and have greater success. Okay, so thank you everybody for today. I hope you enjoyed it. We are going to get together tomorrow. Let me just explain tomorrow. It's really important. We're going to have between 8 and 10 o'clock, anybody that wants to get tested with some of this new technology, they need to schedule with Chris, who's outside, to come and get tested. Anybody that completed their WICO questionnaire, it was emailed to you. The results will be reviewed tomorrow. If you haven't completed your questionnaire and you want to, you can ask Chris and he can get that to you to complete, and then he'll get the results to you. At 10 o'clock tomorrow, if we can all get together next door, we're going to be next door, not here. And from 10 till 1 o'clock, we're going to have our next presentations. We have about another 10 fantastic speakers. At 1 o'clock, we're going to break, so if people want to check out, have lunch, we'll have lunch again. And there'll be a whole host of equipment that you can experience that will be profoundly fantastic in all aspects of renewal, revitalization, health, prevention, all that kind of stuff. So please come back tomorrow at 10 a.m.